My name is Weldy Ann Scales. I am here. Let's start roll call. All righty. So, Mr. William Price.
Here.
Josh Miser.
Here.
Abigail Salisbury.
Here.
Angela Stribling.
Here.
Sean Alfonso Wells.
Present.
And Mr. Chris Ansel, are you able to respond by phone?
Here. Yes, here.
Okay. So we have public comment, and we will start by allowing our public comments to come through. We have Mr. Tom Crombie. Mr. Crombie, if you'd like to go ahead and unmute your mic, the floor is yours.
Hello, my name is Tom Crombie. I'm the owner of the Triangle Bar and Grill here in Swissville, also the Triangle Bread Company, also the Crombie Real Estate Company. Longtime resident, longtime businessman in that town. I'm here to talk about possibly getting some extra funding for this monument that we have are trying to get built for Mr. Darren Poindexter, a lifetime friend of mine, a lifetime Swissville resident, somebody who's traveled the world. He had an innate ability to connect with people at any level with any type of person that you can meet. I have been in this town a long time, and our family I have almost never asked for a lot from this town. I'm asking to create some funding here. I could not pull up the invoice for the monument that we have already gone out. We've checked with a few places, got some bids. The one we found was just a little bit over 10,000, but I couldn't pull it up on my phone. I can make that available, but we have done all the work, have everything in place to purchase it. We're coming up short on the funding. I think it would be a great and positive monument to have down at Collingwood, in light of some of the things that have happened in that park, the negative things, and the park's so pretty now. It's really nice. I drive by it every day, see the kids playing, a lot of activities there. There's been some negative stuff. We're just trying to do something, bring some positive back into the community. And it's a shame. I feel bad that if you ever got to meet Darren, you really missed out. And that's pretty much all I had to say. If we can get some funding for this, I think in about 4,500 to 5,000. Again, I don't have the exact numbers, but I can pull that all together for you and have it brought to your attention as soon as possible. Thank you.
Mr. Crombie, hi, Josh Miser. Thank you for coming on and speaking and giving your comment. So as you may have seen on the agenda, the agenda item tonight is to kind of set an upper limit for what the funding would be. I know you don't have the exact numbers in front of you, but do you have like an upper limit that you're sure would cover the remaining cost?
So we have 48, from what I understand, our total today is $4,800. We're just coming in at, I think it was 10,200, right in that range. So you're talking 5,400. I mean, if we got 5,000, we'll come up with the other 400. Anything would help.
Okay.
I have a question. I had been under the understanding, or perhaps misunderstanding, that the project was going to cost around 8,000 total. I'm not sure where the 8,000 came from. If that was an earlier number and the prices have gone up, or
the prices have changed. We are locked in right now at the price. I don't have the exact date that it's locked into.
And in other words, they're guaranteeing you that price for so long, is what you mean?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. As you know, everything's climbing.
I see. Thank you.
No, thank you.
And just to give a little bit additional context, Mr. Greg Batchy did share with us the invoice. And so it shows total cost is $10,400. And so they have 4,800 raised. So they're roughly, like you said, 5,000, a couple hundred short. Thank you so much, Mr. Crombie. Mr. Poindexter also, Melvin Poindexter, he signed up for public comment, but I don't know in terms of what may have happened. Sarah, is there anybody sitting in the waiting room area?
Nope, everybody is here, unfortunately.
Okay. All righty. Oh, Angela, you had a comment to make?
Is Mr. Crombie still there?
Yes.
Thank you. This is Angela Stribling, and I do appreciate you coming on this evening and doing the work for Mr. Poindexter. Can you give the people in the community, from your perspective, what type of man he was and how this would impact our community for the kids?
Darren, I wish I could pull up the picture of him in Indonesia, taking a picture with 40 or 50 kids behind him. And Darren was 6'10", 6'9", with dreadlocks. Very imposing fella. But that's a man that would sit down with anybody on this screen and have a discussion with about whatever it might be. It didn't matter. And he allowed me to voice my concern in certain areas without judgment. One of the most least judgmental human beings you could imagine. A mammoth human being with a bigger heart, as kind as could be. And it's really, that's the best way to describe him. This borough is less fortunate now that he has passed.
He's also one of the founders of Collinwood Day, right, Mr. Crombie?
Yes, he is. Him, several people are involved with that, but he always made it back. He lived in Atlanta when he passed away, and he lived there for a few years, but he always made it back. And he actually asked to marry him at Collingwood Days about 5 years ago.
And from my understanding, with his basketball career, he always gave homage to Swissvale Collingwood basketball court as what helped him.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. He played in Europe. He played for Delaware State, and he played for Robert Morris. He played professionally in Europe for 10 years.
Thank you so much. And if you like, you can log off, or you can stay on and watch us for the rest of the night. But thank you so much.
Thank you for your time, everybody. I appreciate it. Thank you. Have a good night.
Okay, so we are going to move on to our next phase of tonight's council meeting, and that is the introduction of our Swissvale police officers. This is a part of our initiative to continue to improve our community relations and engagement by letting the public know who our fellow officers are. So I will open the floor to listen, I don't want to say your name incorrectly. So I see officer here. I may leave it to Deneen. Deneen, will you introduce our fellow officers? Thank you.
Officer Kane. Yes.
Hi, how's everyone's evening? So,
Kane, introduce yourself and tell us about yourself.
So my name is Kane Lorero. Normally, if I'm interacting with you outside in the public, I just tell everyone to call me Kane. His last name's difficult. I'm originally from Scranton, and I moved to Pittsburgh after I graduated college at IUP. I went through the police academy in Scranton, and it was a long journey, but I found myself working here for the Borough of Swissvale. It's been great since. I started here in the end of February, or the first week of March, I'm sorry.
Thank you. And how have you enjoyed working with Swissvale Police in the community so far?
It's been great since I started here. The community itself is a fantastic community. There's a lot of good things going on here, a lot of community involvement between the police and the community themselves, whether it's, picnics and the borough picnic we just had. There's a lot of good things going on here. And as far as the police department being involved, our leadership here between the Chief Watson and all of the sergeants, we have great leadership here that pushes us to get involved and gives us good direction. And, whether it's a police matter that we're involved with, or just a community outreach program. I know I've run into more than one of the faces on the screen here, just doing our police parking walks. We get out of the car and walk around the neighborhood. We try to pick a new street or, a couple blocks every night when we're out there walking around, especially on the 3 to 11 shift when it's sun starts going down, it's not as hot.
Well, thank you so much for introducing yourself tonight at our council meeting.
No problem. Thank you.
Well, Dee, if I could interject real quick. Some of you may recognize Officer Lorero. He was in our Instagram reel for the pedestrian safety that we did. He was our undercover crossing the street back and forth over and over again. So you guys may recognize him from that. If you haven't seen it, you should go check it out because it's fantastic. Swissvale Borough on Instagram.
And Officer Kane, one of the areas you were doing that, wasn't that at the Sanders and Braddock crossing?
I believe we did multiple. I think we did about 4 or 5 intersections on South Braddock, but we went up in Regent Square. We did Sanders for about a half an hour, I believe.
Even with the flashing lights, I've had a couple near misses there myself with people just not paying attention. So thank you for doing that.
It could be treacherous up there.
Thank you. We're going to move on to our next sergeant.
So Sergeant Lewis Sitzman is our K-9 officer, and he is our newest promotion to sergeant. Congratulations, Lewis. Tell us about yourself and where's the pup?
Hello, I'm Lewis Sitzman. As they said, I'm the newest promoted sergeant, which I'm absolutely loving this new leadership role and the guidance I'm giving out to the young officers. Echo, he's taking a nap in the vehicle right now as I do this meeting. He's ready to get back on the road. But early history about me is I grew up right on the South Side slopes. I went to the Pittsburgh Public Schools. After that, I joined the United States Marine Corps, where I became a non-commissioned officer. And after that, I attended a little schooling and went to the police academy. And I was lucky enough to get my initial break in police work in Swissvale and back in December of 2010. And fortunate enough to get the full-time position here in April 2014. Then Echo came along and he came along in 2014. I got full-time in 2012. And then from there, we did numerous fines, apprehensions of wanted felons, numerous firearms located with him. I worked with the FBI and located 200,000 stamp bags of heroin one time. Multiple uses with the county police and the local police officers in this area. And then I like to say around 2018, I was fortunate enough to attend some absolutely fantastic training with the FBI. And that's what really started my journey down the instruction classes. I'm the firearms instructors here. Also, I teach our simunitions, which is our paint marking rounds for force on force training to get as close as real life as possible. And also I teach for the Turtle Creek COG for the active threat response as well. I help them out and all that as well. And now my new responsibilities as the sergeant, which is fantastic. I love it.
Thank you. And how long have you been with Swissvale?
12 years in December. Yeah, I was fortunate. This is the only department I worked for, so.
You just answered my follow-up question. Thank you so much for introducing yourself and for your continued service to Swissvale.
Oh, thank you for having me all. Have a wonderful night, everyone.
Okay, so we are going to move on to the agenda under council actions. So who wants to raise the motion as it relates to the minutes?
I move to approve the minutes of the August 31st, 2022 council agenda meeting and the September 7th, 2022 council meeting.
Second.
Thank you. So the motion is approved for the minutes for the August 31st, 31st, 2022 council agenda meeting and the September 7th, 2022 council meeting. All righty, we're going to move on to finance. Who wants to make the motion?
We didn't vote, we just had a second.
Oh, okay, vote. Thank you, guys. This is journaling, Chris, and formerly Abigail's will. Okay, can we get a vote for this?
It's okay, I've skipped whole agenda items because I got ahead of myself.
Thank you. Can we get a vote on this?
You have to say all in favor.
Okay, all in favor?
Yeah.
Aye.
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 Any nays or abstentions? Okay, the motion is approved.
It's like the first pancake, you just throw it away and then you move on, it's okay.
If I haven't been sitting in these council meetings for 3 years. Moving on to finance. Who wants to raise the motion for finance?
I move to approve the Borough of Swissvale paid bills in the amount of, oh, what is that? Is that $1,234,636.41? I guess so.
That's the most bills I've ever seen.
I think so. Second.
Okay, so can we get a vote? All in favor, say aye.
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 Any nays? Any abstentions? Okay, we are
everybody
going.
better vote to approve those bills. They haven't been paid.
We are moving on to personnel. So he would like to make the first motion.
I move to appoint Anthony Peduzzi to the position of full-time patrolman in the Swissvale Police Department with wages and benefits as provided in the collective bargaining agreement between the Swissvale Police Officers Association and Swissvale Borough.
I second that motion.
Okay, so I don't know who was first, if it was Angela or Sean. So we're going to have a second here from, I guess, Angela. There we go. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Any nays? Any abstentions? We are moving on to the second motion under personnel. Who would like to raise that motion?
I move to approve Abby Miser to the volunteer position of building committee liaison.
Second.
Oh, Abigail beat you, Angela. So we have a second from Abigail Salisbury. And can I get who's all in favor? Vote for in favor.
Aye.
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 Any nays or abstentions?
I will be abstaining.
Let the record reflect Mr. Josh Miser abstained from voting on this item.
Mr. Miser, can you send me a quick email tomorrow? Because we have to append it to the minutes anytime there's an abstention as to the reason. I mean, I know, but you know,
Yeah.
I need it for the record.
I'll send you an email tonight.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Okay, we are moving to the third item under personnel. Who wants to make the motion?
I move to take action to deny the application for pension benefits by Officer Frank Chianese.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Do we have any comment on this item before we vote?
Please don't make any comments on it. It is a sensitive personnel issue.
Thank you. So we are moving on to vote. Oh, yes. Okay. We're moving on to vote on this item. Who's all in favor? Say aye.
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 Any nays or abstentions? All right. Motion carries. So we will move on to resolution. Who would like to make the motion under resolution?
I move to approve resolution 22-13 to submit a grant application to the Gaming Economic Development and Tourism Fund for funding to make improvements at Lescat's Memorial Park.
I second.
Okay, so we have a second from Sean Alfonso Wells. Do we have any comment on this item? Okay, no comment. So all that's in favor, please say aye.
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 I likewise am an aye. Do we have any nays or any abstentions? Okay, we are moving on to the next item, vehicle purchase. Who would like to raise the motion for vehicle purchase?
I move to authorize the purchase of a 2022 Ford Interceptor utility from Kenny Ross Ford in the amount of $35,748 under the CoStar's contract 13-213 with upfitting by Rally Specialist Inc. in the amount of $13,257.
I second.
Okay, and we have a second by Sean Alfonso Wells. Do we have any comment on this item?
I had a question. Did we get any insurance money back when the other one was totaled out?
My understanding, we did.
Yes, we received $22,334.
Okay.
Okay. Any additional comment on this item? Okay.
My understanding is that this is much needed because we are down some vehicles. And if we don't have this, we will be down more. So we really, really, really need this.
Okay. So we are moving on to a vote. All in favor, say aye.
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 And I also am an aye. Do we have any nays or any abstentions? Okay. We will move on. The motion carries. All righty. So Parks and Recreation. Someone like to read this motion?
I move to authorize the expenditure of up to $5. Do we have a specific yet? To be, well, we'll read as is first. I move to authorize the expenditure of up to X amount of dollars to be used toward the purchase and installation of a monument to honor Darren Dex Poindexter at Collingwood Park.
Does somebody need to say an amount and then discussion follows that?
I would say based on what I heard in terms of the looking at how much it was and looking at how much we have, I would move to authorize the expenditure of up to $5,500 to be used towards the purchase and installation of a monument to honor Darren Dex Poindexter at Collingwood Park. I mean, you have to have an amount in there.
Okay, so I'll reread it. I move to authorize the expenditure of up to $5,500 to be used toward the purchase and installation of a monument to honor Darren Dex Poindexter at Collingwood Park.
Do we have a second?
I'll second that.
So I know we have discussion on this topic. And just for background information for any of our residents who are tuning into this, last year, members of the community proposed to council to name the Collingwood basketball court after Mr. Darren Dex Poindexter. Mr. Poindexter was a Swissvale resident. He grew up, born and raised in Swissvale, and he contributed his basketball career to his recreational and activities at the Collingwood basketball court. He always gave homage to Swissvale. He even came back and he was one of the founders of Collingwood Day. And for those of you who are not aware, what is Collingwood Day? It is an annual gathering of residents who grew up in that area that come from all over to celebrate this annual day of celebration. He was one of the founders of it and organizers of it as well. Mr. Poindexter passed away last year, and that is why members of the community then proposed and requested that we name the basketball court after him. Members of council voted unanimously to name the basketball court after him. Now, what members of the community have come and asked us to do is to help support the cost for a monument that has a brass plaque of his name, his photo, and his legacy onto a stone placed right there at the basketball court. We just heard from Mr. Crombie, but we've also heard from Greg, and Greg shared with us the invoice, the drawings, and everything, that the total cost of this is now $10,400. They have $4,800 altogether. So they are asking us as council to approve costs to go towards it. I've said on many of these meetings that I'm in support of it. I do not know Mr. Poindexter personally. Of course, I do know the family because my family has been in Swissvale for 4 generations. So of course we come across each other. But understanding his legacy, his contributions, and what it means to Swissvale, I am in support. We spend $5,000, $6,000, $10,000 on less. And the Collinwood basketball area is an area where our youth are, but to be completely honest, that's also an area where members of the Black community recreate. And so it is great homage not only to a Swissvale hero, but it's also something for our children to look up to and to have at that basketball court. So I am, of course, in support of up to $5,500. I want to open the floor to anybody else. Any comments on this item?
Well, I too think that it would be a good homage for our youth to be able to start beginning to see people that look like them and are achieving things in life that they too can aspire and be inspired by. I'm not from Swissvale, but I know the area I'm from, we always pay homage to those who come before us. And I think if he's the start, then he's the beginning. And I think it's something that we need to start moving towards. And I don't think $5,500 is enough, is too much to pay for a legacy that can create the images and the memories for children to aspire going forward. So I am in full support of this.
I'm
So
not really one that's,
go ahead.
yeah, sorry. I'm not really one I'm pretty fiscally tight, relatively speaking, if anyone's listened to me lately. But what I would say is that I have seen that since they've come to us, they have made an effort to try to raise some more money. We did make an effort to raise some money also at Juneteenth. And I think that there has been an outpouring of money coming in a little bit that they were able to get, but it looks like we've hit a roadblock, relatively speaking, in some of the fundraising. So, hopefully this would, patch that gap, relatively speaking. And I think last week we did, it was last week. Last week we did discuss that there's probably, if we want to have it ready for his dedication, for the dedication of the park in March, that we probably need to get this on the ball. I do believe that was discussed last time. I could be wrong, but so it seems like they have met some of their obligation. There will still be a little bit left that they would have to come up with. But I think that people have been pouring a lot of effort into this. Mr. Crombie did come to speak with us today, an outstanding member of the community. I know he works a lot with many different causes, and I was impressed by what he said, but I'm also impressed by Mr. Poindexter. I do not know him personally. I did not know him personally. I don't know the family at all. But it lightens my heart to see that he did so much for the community and that so many people are willing to go to bat for him and to make sure that he is remembered. And I do believe that that having someone to remember and to look up to, especially in the park, so that I can have a good legacy, that people can see positive things around them. I think that's important.
I'm impressed that the public on its own was able to raise almost $5,000, and that what we're essentially doing is matching that, maybe a couple $100 more. But I think that that should be noted, all of the private efforts that have gone into raising what they have raised. It's very impressive.
I did not know Mr. Poindexter. I heard Mr. Crombie's comments at the beginning, and I do feel like I am less for not knowing him from all the things that I've heard about him. I'm very empathetic to this cause. I mean, I had let Ms. Scales know ahead of time, though, personally, and I kind of feel like the bad guy in this process. That I think $5,000 is too much for us to spend on this. I know we spend $5,000 on what seems like less, but you can't really compare apples and oranges. I think as we're going through this, what I've been trying to process over these last 5 days since we've had this conversation on Wednesday is the issue of comparables. If you think about buying or selling a home, right? You find a home that is in close proximity, similar neighborhood, similar size, construction, et cetera. And so thinking about the types of things that may have been done in the past, you know, we have Memorial Field, which is named after Les Getz, who, again, I never knew. There's a plaque outside of, I think it's outside of the elevator. The elevator in the Borough building is dedicated to a former mayor and former tax collector. So, you know, thinking in those realms, those plaques would be far less than $5,000. I feel like $5,000 is a I'm uncomfortable setting a precedent of $5,000 towards an individual in a situation like this. I mean, I think some of this is the fact that, like, the borough was not that I expected that we would be, but if we are asked to front or to pay for half of this monument, we were not consulted in what form or shape that would take. Because if we had decided, I mean, we did unanimously decide to vote, well-deserved, to rename the basketball court in his honor. But if we had put a plaque up, a bronze plaque, I mean, I just did some research today, and you can get a 28-inch by 16-inch with 672 letters, which is more than ample, would have been about $1,200. And so I personally I would like to see that high end set much lower, at the range of $2,000 to $3,000. Personally, if I get outvoted, I get outvoted, and I'm willing to live with that. But those are just some of my opinions about this matter.
One thing about bronze plaques that I worry about is that they're disappearing from cemeteries all over because people are stealing them and selling to scrappers to raise money for drugs. So whatever we do, whatever monument, that I hope that they don't make a bronze monument that could be stolen. So I like the idea of something made out of granite, because who's going to steal a granite stone? That said, maybe it could be done cheaper.
Well, and Bill, I just would not note, though, that it's the granite stone with a like bronze-like plaque on top of it. So, I mean, I'm not trying to be combative here, but I mean, to use the logic, they could still steal that they couldn't steal the monument, the base of it, but someone could hypothetically steal that bronze part that is on top that has all the lettering on it.
I thought the lettering was cut into the stone. It's not cut into the stone.
I mean, I could be wrong. My understanding was that there was a plaque that was going to be mounted to the surface of the stone.
You may be right. I don't know.
Just to clarify that, based on the quote that was provided by Mr. Batchy, it is a laser engraving into the granite itself.
Oh, thank you. Thanks for that correction. I'm sorry, I didn't get to read that quote in its entirety.
Abigail has had her hand raised, so I'll let her have the floor.
So I wanted to propose something that is sort of similar but different. In my neighborhood, I live on Scheuer, and so there's a small, sort of looks like a headstone type of a memorial for a crossing guard who passed away. I had a chance to send a picture of that to Greg. I don't know if he's able to share what a picture of that.
I think
I can try to.
Abigail, if you can hear us, your Zoom appears to have frozen.
I think it's your internet going in and out, Abigail.
You know what? I cannot share that because she said she had texted it to me. So I don't have it queued up on the laptop. I'd have to email.
I have it. I can share it, Greg, if let me see if it was
Sorry, I lost my connection for a second there. Okay. I don't know where I got cut off, but I'll sort of start over. So I was going to suggest that maybe the money that has been raised already be used to pay for maybe, but could we instead use the money that is being asked for, the $5,500 here? Could we spend it on programming in his honor? Could we spend it and appropriate it for children's basketball programming that is named after and given in his honor, so that it is something that the community kids can really benefit from? It's basketball themed because we're naming the basketball court after him. We can still have a memorial, a physical one. It would just be a bit smaller, but could we use instead the borough's money to have a, Poindexter Memorial basketball program of some sort instead?
So I think these are all great ideas, and normally I would just be very, very open and amicable to, coming out with any sort of other alternatives. But in the past 3 years that I've sat on here, I have seen certain proposals come before you guys, and you did not ask for all of this. You did not even ask for alternatives. And if alternatives were proposed, it was rejected or fought against. And when it comes to us showing the Black and brown community that we support them, and whatever it is that we can do to help our marginalized residents in our community, there's very little to show proof that we've done so. So this is an opportunity for us to show the Black and brown community that we support them. Yes, $5,500, it's a lot of money, but in the grand scheme of things, in terms of what gets passed around here, how much money gets spent, and who it supports, it is a drop in the bucket. And I know it seems like it's all about this particular individual, but one thing that I take away from it is the legacy and the impact to the community that this one individual contributed to. When you see Black, brown, white, and blue come together because of the impact that one person did, at some point we need to follow suit with it. We do, since I started on council, every single year, Black History Month, of recognizing our very own in Swissvale, something we've never done. So for those who have been on here for 3 years, you guys have sat through and witnessed firsthand what the Black and brown residents of this community has done and continues to do to uplift and improve the Swissvale community. It is time for us to give back to that same community that continues to pour into us. Josh, I see your hands raised.
Thank you. Yeah. So just to give my input on it, I did also some research on comparable monuments just out of the curiosity of the cost. But given the community need and the goal of our council to represent our entire community and give back to the community, I am in favor of voting up to the 5,500. However, I will say if there is a concern about the money being spent out of the borough's general fund, I'm also in favor of spending a slightly lesser amount and pledging my next paycheck from the borough towards this item so that it comes less out of the general fund and out of and just to be completely transparent, if all of us on council were to donate our next check, it would come out to around $1,400. And so if we can save the borough $1,400 out of the general fund and give it from our own accounts, I would also be in favor of that. So I will be voting in favor. of up to the 5,500. But if there is a concern that we'd like to save the borough some money, I'm also open to donating my next paycheck to this cause.
Bill, I see your hand is raised.
Yeah, I would suggest maybe a slight modification in the motion. I really like the concept of matching funds, and in general for things that the citizens bring to us. No different than the state of Pennsylvania giving us 50%. Matching funds of up to $2,500,000 for our borough building, or the matching fund situation with the library. So I would suggest maybe we reword it to say that we authorize matching funds of up to whatever the ceiling is, whether it's 5,500 or, obviously we wouldn't make it matching funds, up to $1 million, but I would suggest that we word it in terms of matching funds. So I would propose modifying it to say matching funds of up to 5,500.
So Bill, you're essentially saying that if they can raise, I guess, $600 more, which would put them at 5,500, yeah, then we will actually give 5,500.
Right.
Okay, and Abigail, see your hand.
Sorry, I'm having shaky internet tonight, I think. So I'm in favor of giving to this project. I think that it shows a huge amount of effort and work and community support that they've already raised almost $5,000 themselves. And that they've done that over a period of months. I mean, it's not as if like they, just tried to do it last week or something. They've worked really hard and they put together all of this money. So I'm definitely in favor of putting community money toward it. And like I said, I personally, like it's my values, and I don't want to impose my values on other people, but I just keep thinking that it would be wonderful if we could incorporate somehow a kids event as part of this so that kids know who he was, because otherwise I think we've all been places where we see a plaque or we see a statue or something like that and nobody knows who this person is or why they're being honored. I just think it would be a really nice thing if we could do something for kids basketball so that kids in the community would know who this gentleman was, know what he did for the community, know who he is. And he is someone more than, as many of us have said, we never had the opportunity to meet him. So they, kids in the community have never had the opportunity to meet him either, most likely. So I just think it would be really nice if we could incorporate some kind of kids basketball event into this, whether people want to use borough funds for it or not. I just think it would be a wonderful thing to incorporate when they're doing, I don't know what they're calling the event, like an unveiling or installation of the monument next year. I don't know if I'm rambling, but I just thought it'd be really nice to have some kind of a kids basketball event to make people aware of who he was. We could, make a community thing out of it.
And even Abigail, to take it one step further, we can start raising funds to have a scholarship in his name every year. So an individual child who's going on the way to college, we can raise money up depending on when we decide to start. When they go away to college, one child can be selected out of the community who will receive those funds to help with offsetting any college funds that may have for books or something like that. Like we can really start this as the precedent to be something bigger. And going forward, when these situations come up, we can begin to then have these people in the community and the kids realize that, wow, these people come from Swissvale. I too can aspire to be something great. So a whole lot can actually be done with this, but you're right. We can make this a whole monument, a whole movement for him and the community, most importantly.
Yeah.
I also wonder if we couldn't make it a permanent budget item to have a certain amount of money available as matching funds for other community projects that people might bring to us. Of course, council would have to examine the worthiness of the particular project, but you know, let's say someone wants to do something up on Westmoreland Avenue that the public is very behind. It would be nice if we had a way to match that, if it meets with our goals.
And I'll be honest with you, I have no idea what a basketball event would include. So I would need other people's input on that, because somehow, despite being almost 6 feet tall, I have no ability to play basketball. People ask me my whole life if I played basketball, and the answer is no. I have no athletic ability and don't know how. But it seemed like it would be, you know, a fun community thing to do. A scholarship sounds amazing as well.
Well, the good news is one of our fellow officers has been behind supporting the initiatives for him. And I do know that our police know how to put on a basketball tournament. So just going forward in terms of long-term thinking, maybe we do need to put something in the budget that they can then put together some sort of like basketball tournament that produces some type of
We're having a new borough building that has a basketball court or half court, right? Outside of it.
Okay, do we have any additional comments at all before I put this to a vote?
Yeah, I'll just say again that, you know, I've expressed my feelings. It's evident that I am outnumbered in this, and that's fine. Again, I'm okay with that. I can come to terms with that. I just want to state that I'm going to vote yes, and though a reluctant yes, if we will, just so that the minutes reflect that at least support behind this in that, because it's a worthy, again, I'm not comfortable personally with the amount that we were, because it does feel that it's not comparable to what we have done for other individuals in the community, but it is definitely a worthy cause in that. So I just wanted to, when I vote yes and not nay, that's why.
Angela, would you be interested in amending your motion to say that you move to authorize matching funds up to 5,500?
Yeah, I think I can do that.
Okay.
Well, could I suggest 5,200? Because if the total cost is 10,400, half of that would be 5,200. So if they raise 5,200 and the borough contributes 5,200, that would cover the bill.
Okay. So I'm gonna read this for you. Anybody?
I'm so sorry. Can I just add one? I would be okay with adding to that amount and increasing that amount if I don't know how to describe this, but if the amount in excess of 50% of the invoice is allotted to programming for the whatever it's called, the unveiling installation day, whatever that event ends up being called. So like I would be okay spending more on it if we have a programming element, but I don't know if we want to do that right now. Maybe I'm making this more complicated than it needs to be, and we can address that different day.
Yeah, because I think the programming element is a yay. So we now want to just focus on the funds, and then we can maybe do that at a later time. But I'd be excited to do something as far as the basketball, the scholarship, that whole component.
Okay, so let's keep this simple then. I won't overcomplicate it.
Okay. Yeah, but for purposes of the minutes, Sarah, if you can make it reflect that council is in support of a basketball program, to continue to honor and further his legacy, that will be voted and approved at a later time.
Okay, so I move to authorize the expenditure of up to $5,200 to be used toward the purchase and installation of a monument to honor Darren Poindexter at Collingwood Park.
The matching funds part, could we
put
that in there?
Matching funds up to $5,200. Let me start over, Bill. I move to authorize the expenditure and the matching funds of up to $5,200 to be used toward the purchase and installation of a monument to honor Darren Poindexter at Collingwood Park.
I will second that.
Okay, so we'll move this to a vote. All in favor, say aye.
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 I am definitely an aye. Any nays or any abstentions? We have a unanimous vote. I will be silent on Black and brown and marginalized issues for at least 1 minute, one meeting. Chris, you can have this back.
All right, handing it back over to me.
Yes.
Well, you got through the hard parts, all the council actions. We now move to. I'd delight to take that back. Let's move to the report. So I'm going to hand it back to you, Ms. Scales, unless Ms. Stribling is going to take care of the COG report, because that's where we're at.
Do you have anything, Claudia?
I do have something. I want to pull it up. If Sean could give her Connect report, if you mind coming back to me while I pull up my report.
Sure. So let's move to item 2 under reports, which is the Connect report. Ms. Alfonso Wells.
Hello, hello, hello. Yeah, so Connect is continuing on. We've had several meetings. We are really moving ahead with the lead project. It looks like we are going to be actually implementing it, hopefully before the end of the year. I'm not 100% sure about that, but it looks like that's where we're at. Our judges who are involved with the LEAD project have been getting together and coming up with lots of good ideas, our police officers and our social workers. So all have been working towards this. Connect just had, the amount, last time that we were here, we brought up that there was a project that Connect was helping to connect us to in terms of digitizing our records and getting that pay system. I'll have you know that I was able to get that in, of course, because I sent it in the moment I saw it, but I was able to get that in, and we are, woohoo, we're in. So we're one of the, 10 people, 10 groups that they're gonna do that with. So we should hopefully have an intern soon that will take our behemoth dinosaur system and change it into something sleek and modern. Yay. We also continue to try to help with the issue of firefighters, with trying to make sure we can have more firefighters. And I think that's a problem you're trying to at least pay attention to, if not solve. Something else that's on there. So lots of things, of course, still going on with Connect, including sustainability issues, and we are all keeping on top of that. So once again, I invite everybody here to come to a Connect meeting if you can. It is fantastic. You'll meet lots of interesting people. You might see me there, or you might see me there or not, but it would be great if any of you can come. You are all invited.
Great, thank you. Let's loop back to number 1 and look at the COG report. Ms. Scales.
Yes, thank you. So there was a COG meeting last month, and it was actually in person. And so the meeting was to showcase the Code Enforce app. And so this is an app that will support the work of code enforcement officers, and it creates checklists, follow-up reminders, and built-in guidance. It also is cloud-based, and you can have access to case information at your fingertips and monthly reports as well. There is police training that is coming up for the fall with our police officers. Basic training is October 10th through the 11th, and advanced is October 17th through the 18th. So Chief, I hope we are registered for one of these trainings. There was a managers meeting on May the 18th where our very own Greg Batchy attended. And then there was an open discussion regarding community events, and Swissvale's Juneteenth was discussed. And there was a suggestion of having a COG-wide event committee that can meet at the beginning of the year for towns to collaborate and support each other or work together for joint events, which I think is a really good idea, because we had several different Juneteenth celebrations taking place, and maybe some type of collaboration may be beneficial for the future. And that is my COG report.
Great, thanks. And I know you're the chair of the police committee, so you'll make sure. I mean, you already followed up with Chief to see about that training. That code enforcement app, if you could make sure that Mr. Price gets that information so that he can bring it to fire committee to see if it could be something that would be a tool that would be a good fit for us as well. So great. Next, we have president's remarks. I've got just a couple of things. First is we will be meeting in executive session following this meeting to discuss issues of personnel. So that'll happen. I just wanted to just give a thank you to our employees. We had, I guess it was just like a week and a half ago, an employee appreciation picnic. And I know there were a lot of employees there. There were some that were not able to attend. And I just want all employees to know that we appreciate the work that you are doing for our community, whether you're able to be there or not, that the work you do is noticed and is appreciated for us. Lastly, I wanted to highlight Trunk or Treat, which is an event that is being put on through some of the groups adjacent to the Woodland Hills School District. It's going to be Saturday, the 15th at the Woodland Hills High School from 2 to 4 in one of their parking lots. And, kids can come, and there'll be, I think there's right now 40 plus not vendors, but organizations that are going to be decorating cars, dressing up, and handing out candy. So I know I will be there, and I'm sure some others in the community will be as well. So those are the reports that I wanted to, or the announcements I wanted to make. And let's go to the mayor's report. Ms. Mayor Schwartzwalder.
Thank you, Chris. I just wanted to remind everyone this Saturday is our Swissvale Mile at 9 a.m. starting at Dixon School. And then the evening will be our Community Day, our Fall Festival at Memorial Field at 5 p.m. A few things have changed. So we have 2 bands coming, fire pit, pumpkin painting, face painting, fall photo section, happy apples, free popcorn for everyone. And our fireworks have been moved to 8:15 because of the weather. So do come early and stay. It'll be a 3-hour event, and it's supposed to be a lovely, cool fall day. So I hope everyone will come out for this day. Also, SEDCO is having a unveiling of their Hometown Hero banners on November 11th at 11 a.m. at the Swissvale Library. All are welcome. There will be a short program, and just come out and support our veterans. Swissvale Rotary is a sponsor of the Swissvale Mile this year, and they ask everybody to come and support that event. And they are hosting a Radical Trivia on October 21st at 1913 McCaig Street. So get your teams of 4 together and come support the Swissvale Rotary and have a great night. Terry Furnace, I don't know if everyone.
Deneen, you just muted yourself.
I don't know how that happened. Terry Furnace, Allegheny County has committed $6 million to the Hot Metal Bridge, which will connect Whitaker to Terry Furnace site, and that is a bike and pedestrian trail, and that's a pretty big deal for the development down there. So we're real excited, and that will also link to the Great Allegheny Passage. Bike trails are where it's at, people. So let's get on board and support them. And that's my report. Any questions?
Mayor Schwartzwalder, for the Fall Festival, I know you mentioned are there any other food vendors slated to be there if people are looking to have dinner there, or should they eat before they come?
Yeah, we're gonna have just hot dogs, kibasi, some munchies, and maybe free taffy apples for everyone.
Awesome. Thank you.
If I can get enough time to make them. But yeah, it's gonna be it's a very scaled back, this kind of community gathering. We also have s'mores to roast on the fire pit, and yeah, just bring a lounge chair, a blanket, and enjoy just being with all your neighbors and having fun. There'll be a lot of little kid activities, bocce, cornhole, bounce house, pumpkin painting. So I hope to see everyone there.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. Yes, thank you. I'm looking forward to it. I missed, I forget why I was out of town last year. I think it rained too and pandemic. So it'll be good to kind of get back in that rhythm. And I'll be running the s'more station. So feel free to come down and get some s'mores. All right, let's move on to item 5 under reports, which is the manager report. Mr. Batchy.
Thank you. I just have one quick thing. Washington Street Bridge, Norfolk Southern is moving forward with some design work and surveying. They've been doing some core borings over there and some extensive surveying work. I don't have a time frame from them, but hopefully by next meeting I will, to get some idea. They've also been visiting some neighboring properties, talking to them as there may be a need to demolish a couple of buildings right in that area. So we don't, and as I've explained to those that have called me that they're in that building, that was, that they have more information than we do at this point. So I'm working trying to get some information from Norfolk Southern on what their plans are. But they are moving forward with the design for the replacement of the Washington Street Bridge. Just don't know the timeline. So, and the permit application was resubmitted for the change of the signal at South Braddock and Church Street. So hopefully in the next month, we have some resolution on that to try to free up that, make that intersection flow a little better. That's all I have.
Ms. Salisbury, do you have a question or comment for Mr. Batchy?
Yeah. On the, I don't know if this is a question for Tracy Crombie-Collins or Mr. Batchy actually, but I've gotten a couple of questions about the repairs that are being done to the street in the wake of some of the, I think it's lead line repairs around town, and people are concerned that the street repairs are lower than the original road surface. So I was curious if you've had a chance to look at any of that, if they're going to come back and correct those, or if what is.
I haven't had a chance to look at them because I have not heard this complaint. This is the first I'm hearing of it, so I'll look into it. But that you typically what's right now, they're not permanent repairs. They're they're temporary, and then they'll come back and do a bunch of them at one time. Some of the streets, the entire street will need repaved because of the number of openings that they had on it per our ordinance. But that probably won't be done until spring when they're done with the project. If it requires a whole street to be repaved, that'll be later in the project. And that project, I also talked to the contractor on Friday, and he said it's going much slower than they anticipated. And he said that they originally told me they would be out of here in October, at the beginning of October. They said that's not the case right now. It's going to be many more months.
Yeah, go ahead, Tracy. You can go ahead and make a comment about it.
Everything that Greg just said is what I had learned at our meeting on Tuesday. Those are temporary. I believe the borough does have an ordinance that it is curb to curb repairs. So we're talking about 2 different groups within the contractors of the water authority. The group that is doing the repairs, and as Greg said, they are, I believe the numbers that I heard on Tuesday were that they were 27% completed, and we're at like 33% of the timeline of the contract. So you can see there's a little bit of catch up that needs done. So one contractor is doing the repairs, and then our regular paving person will make the final cuts, but the contractor doing the actual lead line replacements is doing the temporary patching. Now, it being lower than the street surface, I don't know about that. That would be Mr. Batchy or the street department making a call on that. If that needs additional supplement before winter, that I don't understand. I'm not sure about. And you might hear me repeat all this again in my report.
Yeah, the messages that I got on Facebook is people just reaching out to me because they felt like it was probably even when it was installed, but then it settled like an inch or so. So then it's a little bit below the road surface, but it sounds like maybe they'll come back and revise it. I did have one other question about the railroad though, if that's okay.
Before you get to that, did they anybody give any addresses or streets where this was a problem?
Yeah, Buena Vista, I think was one of them. And then I'll check and text you.
Okay.
But yeah, my railroad question was when we had our meeting with the railroad a few months ago now. I don't remember when that was, at the Borough building. You had asked them if they were repairing that wrought iron railing that's along, I don't know what the name of that street is, right by the Washington Bridge there.
Palmer Street.
Yeah. Did they ever get back to you about that?
They did not. They did not commit to anything in that meeting. They took it. They actually used that as a, well, if you play ball, you know, maybe we'll fix it. But that might be, I'll have to talk to Chief Wilhelm about that. That might be something, you know, whether we go through code enforcement to fix that, you know, get them to do something with it, or whatever we do. But, you know, that's, we'll move forward with trying to push them on that also.
It does look rickety. So I'd hate for somebody to lean hard on it and then fall.
Yeah, it needs some repairs, definitely.
Okay.
All right, let's move on to the engineer report. Mr. Ziskow.
Good evening, Mr. President. Beyond what is in my written report, I have nothing else for council this evening.
All right, thanks. And did Mr. Ziskow's report get sent out via email? I don't recall seeing that one.
I may not have forwarded that to Sarah because I usually send them on Monday or Tuesday.
Sure, I know this is a little bit of a you know.
We'll get it out to everybody.
Sure, that sounds good. I just want to read it, so no problem. Thanks, Mr. Ziskow.
Thank you.
Let's move on to the water report. Miss Tracy Crombie Collins.
So this is the Wilkinsburg Penn Joint Water Authority board meeting of 9/27 overview for council. The Penn Vest lead line replacement program progress continues. I've already mentioned that it is a little bit behind what we would like it to be. There are 321 service line replacements that have been completed. 71 in Swissvale. That's up 19 from last month. I'm going to have to check because Buena Vista is not on my list for this lead line replacement program in this phase. So I don't know if we're talking about a break. I don't believe so, but I have to look into that. The contractor doing the work has temporarily moved to another community, but the project will continue again soon. I have a chart in my report where you can see those numbers. The next grant application for the second set of Penn Vest funding is due in November, and Penn Vest has indicated that the average grant will be 49%. The authority's preliminary location list has another 200 Swissvale addresses. A community block grant was authorized, but does not have any Swissvale projects on it. The 2023 budgeting process is beginning. Prices on all supplies have increased, as we all know. And while nothing is final, the budget will be voted in November. A rate increase is likely. Other business was conducted. The agenda, the engineer's report, the report of management, and the previous meeting minutes are all available online. There were 28 mainline breaks system-wide since the last board meeting. None were in Swissvale. There were 231 distribution service or repairs. 38 were in Swissvale. There is also a chart in my report that you can see where Swissvale fell with those reports or with those repairs. And then if you have or see any water issues, please contact WPJWA customer service at 412-243-6200. I have a couple of additional updates. Swissvale Ordinance 22-004 approved on September 7th was submitted to the authority solicitor. I appreciate everybody's support in getting that done. When I received my package for the September meeting, I had identified some duplicate items in the voucher run and brought them to the attention of the authority's director and comptroller, who were aware of a system issue, and I voiced concerns that should have been identified as part of our package. Again, at the 9/7 meeting, Councilwoman Sean Alfonso Wells asked about lead testing that she had recently had done. Apparently, she was part of a random selection that is done for DPA or DEP required testing. So while lead testing can be requested, there is a fee because it goes to an outside lab. that testing was random testing for government level that is paid for separately. So I wanted to make that clear for any residents. Why didn't they get lead testing? I hate to say it for Miss Alfonso Wells, but it means she has lead if she was picked as part of this DEP testing. And on a side note, the Wilkinsburg Penn Joint Water Authority donated 13 cases of water to the Swissvale Mile. And that's my report. Any questions? Okay, thanks.
All right, thank you. Let's move on to the solicitor's report, item 8. Mr. McTiernan.
Mr. President, I just wanted to report there has not been any activity in the PUC litigation involving the bridge, but from what Mr. Bacci has reported this evening and has also mentioned to me that there has been some activity by the railroad, but I will keep council posted on that as long as the project seems to be moving forward. You know, at this point, I don't think we need to be taking any particular action beyond what we've done already, but I will keep you posted on that. And that's all I have this evening.
Great, thank you. Before we adjourn, are there any other announcements or updates that anyone wants to make? Go ahead, Ms. Salisbury.
Okay, so a couple things. We got our first couple loads of topsoil installed for the HAP project that they're doing, the pollinator garden over by Arby's. So DPW kindly installed a little silt fence so that that won't blow onto the sidewalk until that gets stabilized. But that project is underway. They're planning to go over to Cromali's and get some signage sort of, you know, coming soon and explain what that is to folks. Under our contract, we're required to distribute that to council. So we'll send out, you know, just sort of, it's not going to be anything, you know, nuts or whatever, but it'll just be sort of a general signage thing that if everybody's okay with it and doesn't mind them putting it up, you know, I'll email that out for everybody to take a look at, just because the way that meeting was moved this week, we weren't able to get that out in time for you today. And then the other thing is our artists in residence, Real-Time Intervention, are starting their fundraising for the play that they're putting together that is about a real life Swissvale situation in person. So if you recall, they are entitled to about $2,000, I believe, from the budget line item, but they're also working on raising about another $8,000 to finish putting together their project, which is something that they do regularly. So they do these types of fundraisers for every project that they do. And then they tend to sell out well for tickets too. So if anybody's interested in learning more about that, give me a shout and check them out. Those are Swissvale residents as well. So you're welcome to say hi to them in Swissvale. They're hoping to get area businesses involved in that process as well, so that it would be something people are focusing sort of conceptually in the area on trying to do placemaking through art. So trying to get people to come and patronize businesses and engage with a community and not just, you know, show up to see a play and then go home. So those are the two things that are kind of updates on community projects. One other thing is our mayor mentioned that this Saturday we have the Fall Festival Community Day event. That's after sort of once you have your Swissvale Mile in the morning, in the afternoon, you can go to the Fall Festival event. Worm Return does our worm composting program where 25 households get free worm composting services in Swissvale as part of our Swissvale Food Loop program. And much in the same way as Allegheny Goatscape partnered with the Children's Library to do a cute little event for kids and for people to learn something about environmental processes. The fine folks at Worm Return are partnering with Miss Cece, who's a children's librarian over here at the Swissvale Public Library. And we'll have two booths next to each other. So you'll be able to interact and play with worms. If that's a thing that your kids are interested in, they can interact with worms, and there will be like a digging situation to go and investigate worms. and learn about how worms eat plants and then turn them into fertilizer for more plants. Miss Cece will also be distributing goodie bags, which are a plant-based version of those dirt desserts that people make sometimes. So gummy worms and pudding and cookies and whatever, but they'll all be plant-based versions. So we have vegan gummy worms and vegan pudding and vegan cookies, as well as a compostable container for everything to help people teach their kids about that. So the first 48 kids who come by are able to get one of those goodie bags. So just thought I'd add, those are sort of projects that we have going on in the borough and updates on same.
Wonderful. Well, as it's been alluded to a number of times, this is not the usual time for a meeting. We have rescheduled this meeting because of in light of the Jewish High Festival of Yom Kippur. So all of those who are observing Yom Kippur, I hope that you will have an easy fast. I think that's the language that's used. So at this point in time, I'd love to entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All right. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Aye. Any opposed?
Aye.
All right. All council members, please stick around for our executive session. And Mr. Batchy, I guess if you can make sure any staff that are needed to stay on can stay on as well.
Sure, I think just Mr. Wilhelm needs to stay, that's all.
Okay,